I won the lottery 10 years ago, and my state allows anonymous collection. So I told no one, not even my parents or sisters. No one in my family is struggling financially, at least that I'm aware of. Both my sisters have very good jobs and are married to men with good jobs as well. Their kids go to very good private schools, and they all take at least one good vacation a year. So I didn't feel the need to help anyone. 5 years ago, I bought my parents a nice house on the lake. I told them I'd invested in Bitcoin and had done very well. This was my way of thanking them for everything they had done for me growing up. Our financial status wasn't even close to what it is now, so I owe them a lot. But putting the house in their name would put additional expenses on them and me, so it was just easier for me to keep it and them treat it as their own. The only catch was that I didn't want anyone to know I gave them the money. I've heard too many horror stories about lottery winners, and I've done everything I could to keep that from happening. 6 months ago, our parents passed away. My little sister asked my older sister and me to leave everything alone so we could grieve and not worry about the estate. Last month, my older sis approached my little sister and offered to buy her third of the lake house. She accepted and was paid. I found this out a couple of weeks later when my older sister came to me to make the same offer, and I initially declined. But when she told me she had already paid little sister, I had to tell her that our sister owned no part of it and that I had 100% ownership. At first, she didn't believe me. My parents never got around to making a will, so she knew it hadn't been left to me. We were at my house, so I just pulled the paperwork out of the safe, and she went ballistic. Because these posts have character limits, I can't go into full detail about her meltdown, but suffice it to say, it was epic. When little sister found out, she had a freak out of her own. She took the money and paid off her house. 90% of the money was gone. Older sis has enough money to buy the other 2/3 of a lake house, but apparently not enough to give away a few $100,000. This has obviously caused a massive problem within the family. The main question is, how could you not tell us? The easiest answer is, it's none of your business. But keeping that information to myself resulted in a massive cluster mess for my sisters. They now have to work out a repayment deal, and older sis is out of that liquid cash that could have been used to make money with investments. I've been called many names in the last week, and there are a lot of hurt feelings all the way around. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. In fact, by not approaching both you and your sister simultaneously, I would say your older sister tried to pull a power move by paying off your little sister before you even had a chance to negotiate. She effectively prevented you from buying the entire house. Too late, older sis owns 2/3. Also, both sisters made a lot of assumptions. What if your parents had creditors with one of those reverse mortgages? Little sister wanted the money, older sister wanted the house. They are idiots for cutting you out and for not considering your wishes in their secret deal. Exactly. This whole thing was so shady. Little sis demanded they don't do anything, but then she and older sis make this deal behind OP's back and took enough time to do it that they can make multiple six-figure transactions before OP was even notified. This conversation should have included all parties at the same time. Older sis tried to play them, and it was a stupid play with no paperwork and without having the full information. She played herself. Exactly. Neither sis bothered to involve you in a serious discussion about the estate before literally buying and selling part of a whole house that neither of them had any proof of ownership of. That's incredibly manipulative of them, intentionally presenting you with one of them owning 2/3 of it without any prior discussion on the matter, and terribly, terribly stupid. Did they even bother to get an appraisal? Did they just draw this up on a piece of notebook paper? Or was an equally unethical real estate lawyer involved in this? A mutual friend's husband does appraisals for a bank, and he gave her a number. Nothing official was ever signed. My family, aunts, uncles, cousins included, operate on handshake deals within the family and take care of the paperwork when convenient. Not the idiot. Your older sis tried to be sneaky behind your back, and it blew big time on her face. The proper procedure would have been for the three sisters to get together and discuss the lake house. Then you could have told them the truth, and no harm would have been done. What a nightmare. Older sis only has herself to blame for this mess. I wish you luck, OP. I divorced my wife almost 20 years ago, because her work life became severely toxic to my mental health, and I was developing extreme anger management issues. To keep it short, it didn't matter who it was, she would not stand up for herself at work. So day after day, she'd tell me these work stories about how upset she was. I'd give her suggestions and nothing would change. Things escalated, and slowly but surely, I was building a resentment I didn't know was there, and found myself angry at times she would talk about work. She refused to get therapy or do anything to improve her situation, and our marriage slowly fell apart because of it. It wasn't until I decided to get therapy myself, because I couldn't control my anger, that I realized the relationship itself had become toxic. It took a lot longer after that, but we ultimately divorced as a result. Fast forward to present day, and my adult daughter is now working in the federal government, and she's letting the same thing happen to her. We talk on the phone every other day, live in different cities. During the past 3 phone calls, she's complained about the same situation. I've given her suggestions and nothing changed. I immediately recognized my anger building, so I just stopped her last night and told her that if she doesn't stand up for herself, I don't want to hear about it. She called me an idiot and hung up on me. This morning, my son called to ask why my sister is telling everyone I'm an idiot, to hear my side. So I told him the abridged version, and he told me I'm the idiot as well. I know I may have been a little tactless in how I shut down the conversation, but I just can't invite that anger into my life again. Maybe it makes me weak, but I'm just not able to cope with it. You are the idiot. You are 100% to blame for absolutely everything you've described here. Your anger issues are your fault, and they are the problem, not your wife, not your daughter. It's totally normal for the women who love you to want to talk to you about struggles at work. It's a totally normal thing that humans do. They're not asking for your advice. They're not asking for solutions. They want you to listen because you're supposed to love them. They want empathy and understanding. Comprehend this before you alienate your daughter, just like you alienated your wife. With your current communication style, you are the idiot. Do you want a solution or support? It's a short, simple question to ask before they vent. People rant about the stupid stuff to blow off steam. That doesn't mean they're weak or bad at their jobs. They're just redirecting frustration they can at work. If you can't listen without offering solutions, then tell them that, and then they can decide if they still want to tell you what's bothering them. Not the idiot. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills reading this. Yes, it's normal to vent sometimes. Still, it's also normal to get tired of hearing someone vent about the same thing every time you talk to them, while taking no steps to improve or change the situation. OP isn't his daughter's therapist. I don't think he phrased it in the best way he could have, but it seems like OP is setting a healthy boundary for himself. Agree. OP is not the idiot. I'm shocked that people call you an idiot for not wanting to listen to the same complaint over and over and over when you can't do a darn thing about it. Maybe find someone else to vent to. Constantly being on the receiving end of venting can be incredibly grating. And if the situation is bad enough that you have breakdowns before the week starts, then venting just isn't enough. It's way beyond time to change something for your own and your loved one's sake. Background: I, female 32, very recently lost my nephew to cancer. His parents, my brother and his wife, are absolutely devastated. He's their only son and the family's only grandchild. I married my husband, 29, 3 years ago, and we've always wanted and planned to have kids, but we've endured financial and medical hardship. He loves my family and my family loves him, but he can act out sometimes for no reason. This happened 2 weeks ago. After the funeral, my mom invited everyone to dinner to honor him. Knowing the occasion, I predicted there'd be potential sad moments and a lot of silence. I took pregnancy tests days prior and told my husband I was pregnant. He got so excited and was already online to tell everyone. Even said he was going on Facebook to announce it, but I asked him to quiet down and not to mention it during the family dinner, and he said he could do that. We arrived at Mom's house and my brother and his wife were there. They brought pictures of my nephew for us to look at. Some of the family were already in tears till dinner was ready. My brother and his wife were telling stories about my nephew that everyone was affected by. My husband kept giving me signals from under the table, saying we should announce that we're expecting to lighten up the mood. I warned him multiple times, as he said he'll do it if I won't. Finally, he stood up and was about to open his mouth, when I quickly pretended to faint and fell back in my chair. My husband and the others freaked out and stood up. My husband kept shaking me while Mom splashed water over me. I sat up in the chair and acted like I was fine afterward, then asked my husband to take me home, and he grabbed my stuff and helped me walk. Mom then asked me to call if I felt better. My husband was really buying it until I made sure we were out. Then I let go of him and started walking casually. He stood there asking, "What?" I told him I was just faking to stop him from making a mistake and announcing my pregnancy during dinner. He got mad and rushed back to ring my mom's door, but I stopped him in time. I had him get in the car and he lost it, calling me ridiculous and complaining about how I played him and ruined this opportunity for him. I called him crazy to think the dinner my mom held for my recently departed nephew was an opportunity. I told him I care about maintaining a decent relationship with my brother and won't let an announcement ruin it. I also said that my family needs my support, not happy news. Guess what? Is that supposed to magically make the pain go away? He argued we can't hide it forever and said I shouldn't hide the news like it's something to be ashamed of. He was and is still extremely upset that I lied to him and did this, and keeps saying I shouldn't have made a scene like that. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He got mad and rushed back to ring Mom's door? I mean, is he okay? Who does that? Ruined this opportunity for him? The funeral was an opportunity? I mean, really? Really? I get people are going to say you could have talked to him. Sounds like you did, and he didn't listen and was never going to. You know him and I don't, but I have to say, he sounds like he has issues. Well, my sister's boyfriend blurted out to me that he was going to propose to my sister at the visitation for my grandfather's funeral next to the open casket to lighten the mood. Some people just cannot read the room. It honestly sounds like it's too early to announce the pregnancy at all. You are not the idiot, OP, and maybe suggest counseling for your husband because his need for attention and his total lack of empathy and understanding for others is startling. Also, his complete lack of respect for your boundaries is a concern. You specifically asked him not to do something, and he decided he was going to do it anyway. Not the idiot. Are you sure you want to have a child with this man? Number one, he showed zero empathy towards a grieving family. Number two, he failed to realize that you should be comfortable with any announcements made as the person who is pregnant. Number three, he made it all about him. Honestly, I worry that this will happen again and again during your marriage. My nearly adult female, older brother, 32, has a toddler. He is treated as the pride and joy of our family because due to some infertility issues, they took 6 years of trying without success. Now that my nephew is here, his parents let him do anything he wants to anybody's expenses. My mother had to remove every decoration she had around the house because my nephew used to play with it and wouldn't understand a no. Every little piece she has around the house held sentimental value, and she had to put it away to allow my nephew to be here because my brother refused to teach him some manners. I couldn't do my homework in the kitchen because my nephew would come and try to take my things because he wanted to play with them. Even though my brother and his wife hated it, I started to not let him do it, moving him aside or just arguing with my brother until he came and took his child. During one of those times, my nephew broke my computer, and I made my brother pay for a new one because I refused to let my dad do it since he wasn't at fault. My brother tried to lecture me about not laying my laptop there because I knew how his kid was. I told him to not mess with me and to raise my nephew better, or he would be paying for things more expensive than that. My nephew also comes into my room anytime he wants, and I hate when he does that. When he was younger and I had to go to class, I would always tell my brother that my nephew wasn't allowed to come in my room, ever, but he would open the door for him and let him wander around just because he could. So now I'm always telling my nephew to get out, and I usually close the door, but he cries and screams all the time. I had enough, so I told my brother to stop expecting me to accommodate his child. If I leave my Switch, my laptop, or any of my things around the house, I expect them to be where I left them because this is my house. I should be comfortable in my own house, knowing that my stuff won't get damaged, and if my nephew does something to them, he must pay for it, and that he was a crappy father for refusing to raise him well. Not the idiot. If this child is the pride and joy of the family, then his parents should raise him to be that. It takes work. It sounds like his parents are lazy. They call it spoiled for a reason, because you ruined the child for his future success. If you don't give a child consistent consequences for bad behavior, they will never learn any self-discipline, and that is disastrous. Tell your brother to quit being so lazy. He's not doing his son or himself any favors. Next thing you know, he will get kicked out of nursery school because he doesn't know how to listen. Not the idiot. Get a lock on your bedroom door. Don't leave your stuff out in the common areas. Keep it all in your room. Try to teach the boy some easy manners, because God knows his parents won't until it's too late. They're creating a monster, and they're not doing their child any favors. Your nephew is a toddler, and you're nearly adult, but it sounds like you have about the same mental maturity as a 3-year-old, and I can definitely see the family resemblance from this story. You are expecting way too much from a little child, and your response is reminiscent of a tantrum. Yeah, some things you described might be bad parenting, but kids also don't just do what you tell them to. Everyone's the idiot here, mostly you. This happened a month ago, but I'm still confused about how I reacted, so I want to know if I'm in the wrong here. I, 19 female, am a college student. I have a full scholarship that pays for tuition and boarding. I also work part-time to pay for other expenses. In short, I never ask my parents for money as I can provide for myself. My mom's birthday was last June. I saved enough money to buy her a Mont Blanc watch as she loves watches. It might not be as posh to some, but it took me more than a year to save for it. My sister, nearly adult, graduated last month, and I went home to celebrate with them. In our country, they do the ceremony via Zoom because of the global issue. When I got home, I saw my sister wearing my mom's birthday present. I asked her about the watch, and she said it was mom's graduation gift to her. My heart sank. I asked my mom to talk to me in the kitchen, why she gave away the watch I gave her. Mom said she had enough watches already, and my sister loved the one I got her, so she just gave it away. I left the house after excusing myself. I have always felt my parents favor my sister over me, but I sort of confirmed it this time. How could my mom just give away something she knows I worked hard for? My sister called me later that night, asking why I left, and I just told her I suddenly felt sick. My mom and dad said I ruined the dinner that was supposed to celebrate my sister's achievement, and I was petty for walking out of the dinner party. Please tell me if I overreacted. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You quietly left and gave a plausible excuse. I'm sure dinner wasn't ruined. That's just your mom trying to guilt trip you. I'd be livid if my mom did what yours did. That's a terrible thing to do, and what's worse is she doesn't even feel any regret or remorse for hurting you. Obviously, never get her another gift ever again. Not the idiot. You worked really hard for that watch and saved up for over a year. This wasn't a gift to re-gift. If she didn't want it, she could have given it back to you to return so you could use the money on yourself. This wasn't a gift for your sister. Your mom is the idiot for telling you that you ruined the graduation party. Yes, you could have probably sucked it up and stayed for your sister, but I don't blame you for just leaving. The mom ruined it by flippantly giving away the gift OP worked hard to get her. OP, you are right. You are the scapegoat. Time to distance yourself from them all. Next birthday, mom gets a scrap of newspaper with Happy Birthday, Mom written in crayon. Why waste thought and effort on ungrateful people?